now or no?
No, it says 3 minutes 44 seconds.
Okay, so I wonder if it keeps us kicked out until whatever the time I scheduled it was for. See if I just hit a button, see if it pops up then.
Like reload or something.
And David, who I thought he was going to be on too, he had another Bible study, a physical one. So he's going to be at that today. So you're stuck with just me.
No, it says 3 minutes. It's just me and you.
Okay, so I wonder if it keeps us kicked out. I can hear it.
Yeah, we got to turn audio.
So it is live then.
It is live.
Huh.
Sort of. That was a little behind.
Yeah, I guess there's always a delay. I'm learning. Okay, well, I thought he was going to be on too. He had another Bible study. Oh man, that just blew my ears out. All right, yeah, so that's working. All right, well, yeah, I'm just going to talk to you about these then, and you tell me what you think about them. Let me see. So basically, what I did was I pulled a bunch of these contradictions from. Are you on your phone right now?
Yeah, is it
are you able to kick it sideways?
Like rotate it?
Yeah, will it auto flip or something? Or is it stuck on? I don't think it really matters, but it does the same thing.
No, still doing it.
All right, that's all good. I'll fix it on this end. So anyways, what I did was I pulled up a bunch of these Bible contradictions from one of these national atheist websites, and I was talking about some of them are kind of valid and some of them are kind of BS. And some of them are like, if you just don't know the Bible, then I understand kind of where you're coming from. Like when atheists will point out Levitical law and kind of attribute that to Christians. And there's, Old obviously
Testament stuff.
Yeah, there's a big disconnect. But then there are some that are tougher than that. So one of them, I'm just going to read these to you and then you can tell me what you think. The first one is, does God prevent harm to good Christians? So this is in response to a church shooting where good Christians were doubtless praying to God, but still got shot. I don't know which one they're exactly referring to, but I can think of a few off the top of my head where, churches, they close the door to the church, the shooter did, they lock the door from the outside, they go in and they just kill, everybody. So they pulled a verse from 1 Peter 4:12 through 13, 12 and 13. Do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come to test you, as though something strange were happening to you, but rejoice inasmuch as you participate in the suffering of Christ, so that you may be overjoyed when his glory is revealed. The next one is basically a Christian apologist pushed back on the whole thing, saying that we shouldn't be surprised because Jesus said there would be persecution coming. So he said when a church gets shot up, you shouldn't be surprised because Jesus said there was going to be persecution. And that same Christian apologist said there is no rationale, no line of thinking that if God does exist, that only good things happen to good people, particularly good people who believe in God, especially Christians. The atheists, in response to this, are saying, in fact, the good book says precisely that. No harm overtakes the righteous, but the wicked have their fill of trouble. It comes from Proverbs. If you make the Most High your dwelling, even the Lord, who is my refuge, then no harm will befall you. No disaster will come into your tent. That's out of Psalms. When Christians desperately pray for their lives in a church are gunned down, atheists are right to point out that this makes one good question of God's existence. I guess the main things I personally would point out would be like Jesus suffered immensely. And if you want to pull him away and say, he's God, so it doesn't count. Paul was in prison and Paul suffered quite a bit from kind of front to back. The dude had a rough go. So I think the idea of Christians not suffering is kind of just ridiculous in my opinion, but the Bible does say that Christians won't suffer. So do you have an opinion on how you reconcile that?
Well, like the suffering, what was the main question?
So it's basically they're saying that
shoot up a church?
No, yeah, there was a lot. So they're saying that the Bible essentially says that Christians will not suffer because, that Christians won't suffer due to their faith. There won't be any suffering due to their faith. But the Bible also says in a lot of different places that you will suffer and that you'll suffer immensely. So they're calling out the contradiction in that. They're saying the Bible says you're not going to suffer because you're a follower of Christ. And at the same time, they're saying you are going to suffer. And we have examples of all these people suffering. Jesus suffered, Paul suffered, all throughout the Old Testament, people suffered. So do you think it's just a language thing, the verbiage that they chose to write in? Or do you think it's an actual contradiction?
Well, I was also going to say context, like which is that coming from same book? Is one Old Testament, is one New Testament?
All over the place.
All over the place.
All over the place.
You always got to look at context, I feel like, because I mean, sometimes, like when in the New Testament, some things when like Paul's writing to one of the churches or something, I mean, he's talking about a very specific time, a very specific thing going on in a certain city.
Yeah, 100%.
So, and I mean, everything's free will. So I mean, that's like the easiest thing when people say, "Well, why do bad things happen to people if there's a God?" It's like, well, free will. I mean,
I know it seems like a cop out. It seems like a cop out. And me being a big free will person, I struggle with it. But that's my answer. That's just what I believe.
That's why I love, like, I was glad you came back and stuff, like, because you go deeper into things where sometimes I just like read over to listen, but you describe it a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Than I do.
Well, it's tough stuff, man. But I even feel like kind of an idiot when I go on the open theist thing, because it does feel like a cop out. Like, even to myself, it feels like a cop out. It's kind of like a big umbrella, like, well, this justifies everything, so this is what I believe. But it's like, to me, theologically, it makes sense. I just am, I guess, self-aware enough that I understand how other people would view that kind of theology or ideology. But I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, Christians suffered all throughout the throughout the New Testament. And then all of the Old Testament was massive suffering. Jesus and Paul were good examples. Free will covers the why for me. And the whole gun down thing, obviously, if the Calvinistic view, which I know you don't personally agree with, but, they're going to say it was predetermined. And I don't know how you make sense of that.
The Calvinists need that to happen just every week. And then, everybody will either go or they won't.
Yeah, really.
Need to have executions just every Sunday at a different church. Just end it now.
Yeah, that really would, huh?
Go ahead and either go to heaven or go to hell. Go ahead. Why wait?
So
Find out now.
It's so crazy. Dude, the thing that really kills me about that, honestly, is like, and I think it was Greg Boyd that during one of his sermons, he kind of went off on the idea of, like, he has kids, and, like, I have kids and you have kids. What if your kid wasn't predestined? Like, your kids are innocent. Like, they haven't done anything wrong yet. They haven't done anything right yet. They're just kind of existing until they get to a certain point. But under that whole elect system, like, I bet one of your kids wouldn't be elect, and my kid could go either way. It's coin toss. But just statistically, like, not all our kids are going to make it. And it's just on a whim. It has nothing to do with their heart, the condition of their heart, how hard they try, whether they believe or not. It's just kind of, you're born that way, saved or not. It kills me.
See, that would about. Just, yeah, I don't know. I probably wouldn't go to church and stuff if it wasn't up to me. Like, if I didn't have any say so in it, I'd just be like, well, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. So.
Yeah. What's the point? That's the whole thing, man. Like, what's the point? Why would Christians do good things then? Unless they really, I guess, either way, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's like a very inconsistent thing, and it's heartbreaking, man. Like, for people's kids, and because you have just like you said, you have no choice. No matter how good you want to be, you're doomed to hell forever.
Like, that's the big thing with me. It's just the kids thing. A lot of the stuff going on in the church. Like, like you said, you hate the BS. Like, a lot of it didn't bother me until it starts affecting, kids. Like, I don't say what you want, do what you want, but like when it starts affecting kids, it's like, and especially now that I have them.
Yeah. I think that's what's happening in the world right now, man. Like, everybody was very silent about a lot of the stuff going on, but now, like, the kids are kind of the target. Whether it be just like inappropriate stuff on Netflix and not sexual stuff, but now that it's become sexual, it's kind of like the height of it. But I mean, kids have become like the target for advertising, for, you know, corruption of the mind, just wild stuff.
Yeah.
I saw this thing, man. I'll tell you, I saw this thing on TikTok today, and it pains me to say on TikTok, but I saw, so this lady showed, it was like a little, did you ever have an N64 when you were a kid? Or like this, like the, what was the old one? The Super Nintendo? Is that the box one?
Yeah.
It's like a square.
Yeah, where you like put the cartridge in the top.
Yes. So there's a new one, I guess, that they make in China, obviously, but it's like got 800 games built into it. And this lady had her kids. She gave it to her kids for Christmas. The kids were playing it, whatever. And then she saw just some wild stuff pop up on this thing. And she showed like the pictures of it. And I'm not even going to describe it here. I'll send you a video, or I'll send you a link to the video. Okay. But dude, it's wildly inappropriate.
And it was on the Nintendo?
It was on like and we have one. I'm like, when I was watching, I'm like, baby, don't we have that? So we're going to look. It was like years ago I got this, though, so it's probably not the same model. And I think she was saying it came from like one specific seller on Amazon. So they're trying to put that person on blast. But like, it was wildly inappropriate. Put it on there. Yeah, but like, it was there was a full game. You could play it. She like showed you can walk through. It was like wildly racist stuff, wildly sexual stuff. Dude, it was bizarre. It was bizarre. And I thought it was a gimmick, but then she played it and like showed herself playing it. I was like, oh my God. But parents just give this to their kids guaranteed and walk away and never look at it. And so if the kid doesn't say anything, the parents probably never know, right? And that's just like programming.
Thing that makes me mad about
programming.
When they say like, I don't know, like bad video games or bad music or whatever. It's like, you got to be 18 to buy it. So it's not like they bought it on their own.
Yeah.
So either they have friends whose parents aren't a good influence and they're buying it for them and then giving it to your kid, or like, I mean, no,
100%. How bad do you think the parental oversight is nowadays? Like, we're bad in my house. I know everything that my daughter watches. Her phone, like, I'm a tech guy, so like I know everything that comes over her screen. I basically got her, like, everything is recorded, essentially. It's not actually recorded, but I get logged. It's like a key logger. So I can see anything she does. But I bet that's not normal, right?
Well, I know we don't, you know, my oldest, he's only 4, but all we have is a little like Amazon Fire tablet, but it's a kid one.
Yeah, we have one of those.
It's set to kid. So, oh, hey, there's a question.
Targeting not only children. I feel like that's probably true. I feel like mostly children, though, right? The women thing, I don't know about that. Do you think women are specifically targeted?
I mean, industrialization, that was a while back, like before, like, I mean, because it's easy to target the, like, I guess, like, children. It's easy because they're young and they're impressionable. And I guess maybe he's talking about, like, back then when mainly women just stayed home and didn't.
I mean, maybe,
Like, I guess it's easier to get them when they're young.
Yeah, no, that might be true. I guess women were just around more. If men, especially back then, were out working, you know, they're not in front of like. Do you know about like the old Coke commercials and how they were outlawed? Because they actually called it brainwashing. You should. I'll send you something on that too, dude. It's kind of bizarre, but like, I remember when I was in school, when I was younger, they would show us in. It wasn't a marketing class, but we had like a marketing section. I don't even remember, but we were talking about marketing. And they showed us these old Coke commercials that the government made them take off TV because they felt like they were actually influencing people to buy things, and not like literally like zombie mode, but like they were influencing people so much that they were buying things. And like there's all sorts of studies that like certain colors do this to people and certain, you know. Yeah. And so there actually are legal limits of like what you're allowed to put in marketing when you like go to produce a commercial. Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. Yep, I think children and women are the prime. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that's changing now because a lot of guys are staying home now, whether they're caretaking for the kids or they're working from home. Yeah, you're a good example of that. And there's a lot more women out there working. My will. Okay. But you probably watch a lot more stuff, right? Or listen to a lot more stuff just because it's more available.
Lot of like Disney and Nick and stuff, which I haven't seen any of that, but like I know around Pride Month, I saw some things online about how they had like the Disney like played some commercial, and I was like, I never saw it. But I don't know if it's because I live in the South and maybe they just like regionally didn't play it around here.
Really?
Or what? But I never saw the. Oh, what was it? It was an episode of some show, but they did like a LGBTQ episode of it, and I was like, it never came on here. So,
really?
Yeah, because I was like looking out for it. I was like, hey, we watched that show.
Yeah.
And no, I never came on. Only thing we get is the one. Do y'all watch Disney Channel?
We did. I got rid of it, honestly, though. About a year ago, I canceled it.
Yeah. The only thing we see is that one about like racism, about the two black kids are walking on the street and the white lady like crosses the street and like starts singing a song about,
oh God,
love is love, or like, sometimes people judge you by just looking at you or something. It doesn't come on a lot, but it comes on.
Is it? It's a commercial.
A few days. Yeah, it's a Disney Channel commercial. It's like a song.
Interesting. Interesting, huh? Yeah, I don't know. I think it was like in the middle of COVID, when all the Disney heat was like at top level and everybody was dumping their stock and everything like that. I think I canceled.
Yeah, because all the parents were staying home and seeing what the kids were watching.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, but it is rough. Like my kid, luckily my kid's really easygoing, and honestly, she's like very awake for her age because I speak to her like she's a normal person. So I talked to her about like government corruption and, age appropriate, but I talked to her about all this stuff. So like, this is why we're canceling Disney, certain shows I can get you other places and whatever. And then, we just need to move away. I was kind of surprised at how well she took it, but there was a period there where like, she's like, can I watch this? And we go and it'd be like, oh, it's on Disney. Sorry, dude. And she'd be like, oh man. Okay. All right. But we've been able to move on. It's tough though, dude. With kids, Disney is like, it's everything. It's everything.
I know. It's like
to keep them distracted, but now you do have to be careful. So I think as long as like as a parent you do oversight, I don't think it's really a problem. Like whenever.
If I wasn't.
Go ahead.
If I wasn't home with them, like I'd worry about it all the time. I'd like record certain shows, but you can watch these.
Yeah. Our rule used to be like when she was gonna watch something she's never watched before, she had to come ask me, and we would search it together on like parental advisory websites and stuff, and we'd read the reviews together, and I'd be like, babe, do you still want to watch that? She'd be like, no, I don't want to watch that. I'm like, all right, good girl, good work. What else did she say? Why did Jesus bring a child to those greedy disciples that were fighting a distinguished place in heaven? What are you referring to? You got to throw a scripture out. I'm not even sure what you're talking about. Brings a child to those greedy disciples? Do you know what he's referring to? Am I just drawing a blank here?
No, I was about to say, if y'all who's 6 watching, if you got questions, this man is going to be for Joe here. I'm just kind of here to add.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Miguel. You got to throw at least a book out. I can think like in Matthew, Jesus brought kids, but the greedy disciples part is throwing me off. And then fighting for a distinguished place in heaven, I'm not sure. You got to be more specific, man. But here, let me move on to the next one here because we're getting way distracted with Disney.
Yeah, we are.
No one sees God. This is a good one. So this, I think this, in my opinion, this is a contradiction in the Bible, and I honestly don't know how you work it out. I think it's just a contradiction. So you got places like 1 John 4:12. It says no one has ever seen God. Then you've got no man has ever seen God. 1 Timothy 6:16. But Adam and Eve saw God. Abraham saw God. Moses saw God. The Lord appeared to Abraham near the great trees in Mamre while he was sitting at the entrance to his tent, blah, blah, blah. Genesis 18:1. So Moses saw God very apparently. The Lord would speak to Moses face to face as one speaks to a friend. And that's in Exodus. What do you think about that? The whole see God.
I was about to go find the Timothy one real quick.
Yeah, that was 1 Timothy 6:16. While you find that, I have a lot of notes on this one because there was a point once you get to this last one that the atheists charged the Exodus verse, then you can start justifying it because they left out they pulled from a section where that is said, but the whole rest of that chapter is God explaining how it's different now, and they obviously decided to keep that part out, but the rest of it is hard to justify. It is hard when you look at the 1 John and you look at the 1 Timothy. They are pretty apparent, and some will say that I've heard it argued that they're saying, in this new wave now, we're in New Covenant, New Testament, God's not going to appear to people anymore. There's not really anything to back that other than opinion. I think it kind of makes sense, but it is just opinion. There, I think now you can see both. It was 1 John 4:12 and then 1 Timothy 6:16. Essentially just saying no man has ever seen God. And I did go through the Greek. And I think the Greek it's there. It's pretty definitive as far as, the definitive term of never. Let me see.
Oh, come on.
While he looks, Miguel, if you want to throw out what that was, I'm kind of curious, man. The whole Jesus brings a child to the greedy disciples thing. You've piqued my interest.
Well, no, I didn't even have what I was looking for.
Let me see.
Yeah, the C thing, I don't know. I'd have to.
I think it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough.
I know no one has seen the Father except for I've heard that before, but yeah, I've never thought about that until you showed that. Like, hadn't somebody
Adam and Eve
has seen? Well, yeah.
You can kind of say, but even then with Adam and Eve, that's never like specifically depicted. But there's a lot of references of God seeing them and them being aware of it. So it's a lot of guesswork, honestly. There's no direct statement like they saw God and who God was. No, but Moses,
you said you've looked at the
Greek
and Hebrew, because I know didn't like to see kind of meant to like know or like understand.
It could, yeah.
Someone
it
or
could.
Something.
In Hebrew a lot. But I don't. And I mean, I could definitely be wrong.
Timothy's New Testament, so
yeah. So you can have the Greek. The Greek is more definitive in my opinion. So
I was trying to. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the thing that honestly kind of makes sense is like old covenant to new covenant. A lot of stuff happened with God in the old covenant that absolutely disappeared in the new covenant, and a lot of that was kind of direct communication, whether that be seeing or speaking to. It kind of went away. When Christ came, God kind of pulled back.
Yeah, I wish your other friend would. I didn't get to watch your part one. I haven't watched it yet.
It wasn't related.
It
wasn't related.
It wasn't related. Well, it seems like y'all had some deep conversations.
He's a very philosophical dude, David.
Yeah.
He's yeah.
Y'all both seem deep.
This one's tough, man, because I think it's pretty legitimate. I think it's a pretty legitimate charge.
I'd like to look at that some more. I was hoping he would be here, and you, because y'all both know it a lot more deeply than I do.
He would have gone off, yeah. No, so here, but this is where it kind of gets tricky in my opinion. There you go. Exodus. They pulled this one first. Let me make sure you can see. The Lord would speak to Moses face to face as one speaks to a friend. Exodus 33:11. The problem with that whole thing, man, is that if you read the rest of that, and you don't need to know Hebrew to read the rest of it, it's pretty obvious. So 24:10, and they saw God of Israel under his feet was a work like a pavement made of sapphire, as clear as the sky itself. 33:20, but he added, you cannot see my face, for no one can see me and live, which is like very definitive. So if you read through a lot of the rest of that, he's kind of clarifying that you did not. It says, yes, this is back turned to him. You could see kind of the image of him. He could see that he was present, but like you couldn't stare on the face of God, is how he clarifies. My face must not be seen. I will hide my hand away and you will see my back. Which obviously is very good for them to leave out, because that leaves everything pretty open-ended. Some questions, though. Can humans even see the dimension that God has to be kind of somewhere other than us, right? It wouldn't really make sense for him to like be something we could even process.
Yeah.
I don't think. Because if my whole thing, honestly, philosophically, would be like, if God is something we could look at and process, then is God that great?
Yeah, I know.
I think that was kind of the purpose of Jesus.
Create what he created.
Yeah, it wouldn't be any different. So did God take the form of something human that we could comprehend. And that's what a lot of theologians will say, like that was part of the purpose of Christ. Part of the purpose of Christ at all was the redemptive nature, but was also to give us like a human concept that we could understand, that we could relate to, that we could empathize with, like his suffering. We could actually process that. Because there was a lot of talk, a lot of theologians in the Old Testament will talk about the fact that like Israel was very disconnected from God because God was this great figure of power, and there was no, like, they couldn't connect with him, and that's why there were so many problems. Oh, we're gonna get booted. Yeah, we got 10 minutes. But that's like part of what caused all the problems. So a lot of people will say, like Greg Boyd is one of them, that part of the New Testament, part of Christ being who he was, part of him being human, being able to suffer, being able to be in pain, was like so humans could watch that and understand, right? And which makes sense.
Yeah, I would. He replied back, Miguel. Mark 9.
Miguel.
There.
All right, let me pull this up.
Nice. Mark 9. I should just use a Bible app than have an actual one.
No, man, keep the paper.
Probably loud.
It's way better. Right, they came to Capernaum. When he was in the house, he asked them, "What are you arguing about on the road?" But he kept quiet because of the way they had argued about who was the greatest. Sitting down, Jesus called the 12 and said, "Anyone who wants to be the first must be very last." Oh, so it's the verse that encompasses that. "And the servant of all. He took a little child whom he placed among them. Taking the child in his arms, he said to them, 'Whoever welcomes one of these little children in my name welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me does not. Whoever welcomes me does not.'" Yeah, it's a parable. So what was the question again?
It's not literal. The about children. Why did Jesus bring a child to those greedy disciples who were fighting for a distinguished place in heaven?
Yeah, that was a parable. I mean, Miguel, do you know that and have a further question?
The first will be last, the last will be first.
Yeah. It was an old reference that he was doing.
Not actual children.
Yes. Okay, let me see. There you see the value of the child. It is not the only child. Yeah, the value of a child. I mean, I think this is the same thing that, let me see, I was actually just looking at something the other day. Someone sent me this picture. Mark 18:6. No, Mark 9:33.
Yeah, Mark 9:33 is what he's talking.
So I'm sorry, it was Matthew. Matthew 18:6 was, "But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck. Yeah, and be drowned in the depth of the sea."
I love that one.
Yeah, that's a savage one. But no, it was a parable, Miguel.
I'm 50-50. I'm all about the hellfire and brimstone. I mean, there's also love, but man, I'm all about the.
It's got to have both, man. You have to have both. Otherwise, there's no justice. I don't think. It's a childlikeness. What is important? I guess, are you still kind of talking about the fact that they're targeted? Because I think there's a special place in hell for people who mess with kids. I really do. I think there's got to be something worse for them. I think people who mess with like kids or like the elderly, there's you got something special coming, in my opinion.
Well, see, and that's what, like, I know you started all this, because of the current church and the way they act. What is it? There you have it. What's valuable is the child.
What's this suck up about?
I don't know.
What is the childlikeness? You mean like that the enemy goes for innocence? I think is what you're trying to say. And I mean, that's 100%
gone back
true.
To his
the initial
part back at the industrialization.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why, like, a long time ago, for the youth group needed a person to do Bible study, and my wife was like, "You should do it." And I was like, "Well," if I did, my very first lesson would have been, I would have just picked a random story. I would have made one up,
yeah,
like in the Bible, and just been like, "This is, Matthew 10:1," and at the end been like, "What'd y'all think about it?" And like, I just lied to you. Like nothing I said was true. Like you have to read it yourself. Like you
Good.
can't. No, don't
Yes.
take what anybody says for like look it up yourself, which is what
Yes.
some of the like I feel like a lot of people now in church just like sit down, listen to the sermon, and then just go home. I
Oh,
mean,
100%.
they could the preacher, priest, whatever could say whatever they wanted, and they just be like, okay,
Oh, and they do, for sure.
yeah, I
I
don't
was just
trust
talking to
anyone.
somebody about that. I think it was a woman on Instagram who's saying, like, she knows that Christian theology is very wide. Like, she understands that concept. But the church she goes to, they just teach everything, this is what happened. This is what this is. It's all very matter of fact. I was like, honey, that's every church. That's there. So she was basically asking, like, what kind of church should I look for that's going to teach me broad theology? I'm like, that doesn't exist. Yeah,
Yeah, not
there's
not
no such
really.
thing. I've never heard of one, at least. The closest thing is Greg Boyd's church, which I think is Willow Creek. He teaches all of it. He teaches all of it, but he still pushes you towards his theology. But at least he does like show you everything, which is good. But I've never heard of that. That was my whole thing with Chicago years ago, is that I was going to come here and try to plant a church, and I was working with ARC on that and had funding basically lined up because I wanted to do just that. Because I don't think those exist, man. And I get why, because you're going to turn people off. You have to have it's like a very specific audience that you have to have. And you can't bank on all Baptists being cool with your message, or all Methodists are going to understand and give you tithes. Like, I think it all goes back to the fact that it has to be a business, whether you like it or not. And if they can't keep the lights on, then they're done, which is sad.
Yeah, which is I know, which yeah, like you said, which is sad. I always hate like the little pamphlets sometimes that the church gives, and it like has and like it'll be like Mark 1, 2
Yeah.
through 7, and
Yeah.
then 10 through 15. Like, what is 8 and 9? And you look and it's like
Yes.
something negative. And you're like, well, we can't say that.
Yes. Dude, it kills me. It kills me. I wish they could just be honest. I wish there would be like a revival and because all these people that when I was doing this before, man, there was thousands and thousands of people who were like similar minded and just want to learn about all of it. Just want to learn about all of it.
You disappeared.
I know, dude. And now look, this has been brutal trying to figure get this to come back. I feel like I don't understand the algorithms at all. It's like impossible. It's impossible. But I'm gonna keep going until it works, man, because all the people I'm talking to on a personal level are like right there. And they're like, dude, we're done. Like, I don't want to go to church anymore. I get that it's way wider than this. I just want to like learn and figure stuff out. We put God in such a small little tiny freaking box, man. And I think that's just wild. Wild.
I think too much of it now is either like you got the feel good churches and then you got like the crazy ones. Like there's no like
it's one end or the other.
Middle.
It's one end or the other, yeah. And even then it's still like everything is hell. Or everything is totally fluffy, Joel Osteen. Everything is great, and you're gonna get rich.
That guy.
And yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. I was walking through a thrift store a couple weeks ago with my girl, and every time I see a Joel Osteen book, I flip it off and I take a picture. So I have like a collection of these. I've got like 30 pictures of me just flipping it to Joel Osteen. It's like a running joke.
You should just go get them and put them in the fiction section of the bookstores.
That'd be a good idea. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. I'm gonna do that next time for sure. All right, let's see if we can knock one more of these out because we're gonna get booted off here.
Go for it.
Oh man, this one's kind of tough, but also kind of easy. So the women spread the word of the empty tomb, or did they? You've got in Matthew and in Luke, the women immediately. It says, and I've checked the Greek, it is immediately. They have gone and told of what happened with the empty tomb, right? The problem is Mark tells a different story. Trembling and bewildered, the women went out and fled from the tomb. They said nothing to anyone because they were afraid. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know how to reconcile that one. I really don't.
I think so. Have you ever read The Case for Christ? I think it's Lee Strobel. We're about to get booted, so I might have him beforehand. But eyewitness testimony is never going to be perfect.
Oh, well, yeah,
if it's honest.
Like
if it's honest.
crime.
Yes. Yeah. So unless people like get together and decide this is our story, then they're all going to match perfectly. Otherwise, if you and I see a crime, we're going to describe it in different ways. We're going to think different things happen, so much that even actual facts do change. They find, but still the crime did happen. And still, for the most part, what they're saying is true. So a lot of people will argue like this adds the validity in that like you can tell they didn't correspond, that the gospel writers didn't come together and say, this is what we're going to say.
Yeah.
Everybody read it this way.
You know, one of them might have seen them flee and maybe they like went a distance before they told people things. Yeah. So they've been like, oh, they ran away and didn't even say anything.
Exactly. There's a lot that could be said. He's gone. Once you've healed. Drew, I think if you call in on that same one, it'll let you right back in. But if you need to go, you're also good to go. I'm going to probably talk to Miguel for a few minutes and then call it a night. Once you're healed, you need to leave the hospital. Same with the university once you have your degree. Let's transcend the symbol. I agree with that, actually. That's pretty well said, Miguel. That's pretty well said. I agree with that a lot. I've honestly never looked at it that way. That's actually pretty profound. That kind of blows my mind, if I'm being completely honest with you. Once you're healed, you need to leave the hospital. University wants your degree. You get your degree, you need to leave. So church to you is like level 1 through 10. And then once you've, achieved a certain level, do you think there are certain people that will stay in the church forever though? Because they can't comprehend the next set of levels? Because I think those people exist. I think those people absolutely exist. Once you've, achieved a certain level, do you think there are certain people that will stay in the church forever because they can't comprehend the next set of levels? Because I think those people exist. I think those people absolutely exist.
Yeah.
All right, you gotta turn off the laptop audio.
Yeah, I was trying to. Did it
and then I think your camera's still off. But that is. Did you see what he wrote?
Stop it. Once you've healed, come on, now start video there.
Once you've healed, you need to leave the hospital. Same with university. Once you get your degree, you need to leave. We all individually most transcend the symbol that is the structural organized church. I thought, dude, I was saying that's wildly profound. Honestly, I've never looked at it that way, and that's wildly profound.
Miguel.
I know, Miguel just throwing heat. That's crazy. But I totally agree with that. I think there are certain people that they just outgrow the church because it is a box. If people did church differently, then it'd be different. But the way that people do church right now, it's like, if you want to know theology at all, you're done fairly quickly. It's all very dry, very quick. Because it's all stories. It's all illustrations and stories about your family and trying to make people feel good to tithe. It's like they're not trying to educate. In my experience, I understand those churches exist, but they're not the majority. They're the minority at a massive level. But I think there's people who just consciously, they can't grow that. I don't know, not to be mean, but obviously people have different intelligence levels. And then beyond that, there's people who just don't care to learn. I know people who could comprehend otherworldly stuff and philosophical things and theology at a wider level, but they have no desire to. Also, so there's people I feel like who are intellectually capped, just their brain literally can't do that, and then there's other people who just don't care. But I think there's a large group of people, especially now, ever since COVID, man, things have gone haywire, and now there's so many people who are they want to know what's going on with the world, with the government, with politics, people who never cared at all for a second now care immensely, and now would be labeled conspiracy theorists. Probably. But they want to know what's going on.
More we were right the whole time.
Yeah. No, there's definitely those people too, man. Yeah, what is it? The Alex Jones was right jar. There's a lot of those people cashing those in.
Man, he's done now though.
What do you mean?
He's gonna be in debt forever, and he got sued.
Financially? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, his show's still online though, man. I'm sure
he's
he'll
still
be
making
fine.
it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Yeah. No, he's still going hard for sure. He had Kanye West on like a month ago after Kanye came back and started doing all this crazy stuff. Kanye West went on Alex Jones' show.
Look normal.
Yeah.
Or like
you had Alex Jones doing what any other host who has Alex Jones on
trying to reel
was doing, like, whoa, dude, whoa, relax. I watched that whole interview. It was like 3 or 4 hours. It was wild. Watching that was wild.
One of my friends, he moved to California a while back, but he's a big Kanye fan. And I was like, man, well, like pre this, I don't know where he really stands now. But he was like, well, notice how he said, he didn't say the Jews. He said Jewish, so like people that aren't like really Jews.
Yeah.
I don't know if he thinks that deeply.
No, and I think he's been pretty clear on other things. Like he was on Timcast and was pretty clear. And then there was another one that I listened to that he was just, I don't know what he's doing. Honestly, I think it's kind of a PR stunt. I think a lot of it's fake. Especially when you look at who he's hanging out with.
He has so much money. I don't know what he needs the PR for.
But he got debanked. That's what started the whole thing. JP Morgan dropped him. That's what made him lose his mind. You know, if you want to call it that. Made him lose his mind. JP Morgan's like, you got to pull anything you want. We're done with you. And they dropped him. And then he kind of just spiraled out from there. So I think it was told like he lost millions and millions of dollars. That was kind of his initial deal. Was he's like, I just lost.
It shouldn't be a problem for him.
A huge amount of my net worth. Yeah, right. And just his potential to bring in revenue isn't. Give him a month on a live stream or something, and like he's good. He's good.
Put out a new Yeezy shoe. Like,
yeah, he'd be 100% good. Yeah, yeah. He got dropped on the Yeezys. That was the other thing too. They dropped him.
Oh, did he? Adidas
yeah. Adidas. They dropped him. Okay. All right, Miguel. Did you have anything else? And then let me see if we finish this one, and then I can let you go.
It don't matter to me.
No, I guess we kind of did finish it. It was just the eyewitness thing. There's no really other way to justify it. I think it's the only thing that really makes sense. I think right here I just kind of put them in chronological order because the way the Atheist website had it kind of didn't make sense. Nicole.
Oh, Nicole, we have 2 people.
I just go to a different church with higher levels. Can you explain that a little bit? What do higher levels mean?
Well, see, and that might also be like my mom. Oh my God, she goes to so many churches because she'll find one. She's like,
church
I love
hopping,
it. And then, well, it's kind of for a good reason, I guess. But they'll not preach something or skip something, or they won't believe, or like if she finds anything wrong with the preacher, she's like, oh, I gotta find another. So she goes, and I'm like, you're never gonna find, the perfect one. So she just like. I mean,
you definitely have to settle at a point, but like, how much you're willing to settle with, I guess, is kind of the question.
Like, once again, kids. Like, if you don't have kids, pick whichever one you want, and then you know how you feel inside. You know your relationship with God. But if you do have kids, just find the best one you can find, the best church you can find, and then when you get home, say, they talked about this. What do you think? And then be like, well, they didn't explain the whole thing and like read the Bible together or like explain it a little further. But
yeah, do you do that with your kids? I do that with Zaya. When we come home from church, I'll say like, do you have any questions? And then she'll ask me some questions, and then I'll tell her, all right, well, and then we'll open the Bible or I'll pull it up on my phone or whatever, and we'll kind of talk about it. I'll tell her like, the reality is Christians don't agree on these things. So some believe this and some believe this. And, you gotta just understand that and then kind of develop your own opinion. But the most important thing is having your own personal understanding, relationship, prayer life, things like that, and not get stuck on all this stuff. Because if they have not figured it out in all of these years with all of these very intelligent people they are not going to figure it out. It is not going to happen. So you just kind of have to get there on your own.
As long as you got the basics.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. The essentials versus the non-essentials.
Yes,
and if we could all agree on that, there would still be one church. We're not divided over essentials. We're divided over non-essentials. Ridiculous stuff. Yeah. And that was Paul's whole freaking thing in the beginning, dude. And that's the thing that drives me insane is like ecclesia all throughout all of Paul's letters are like, dude, you guys need to stop this shit. You need to chill. That stuff doesn't matter. Move on from the circumcision. Move on from the eating meat. Relax. Things have changed. Everybody please be one church. And Christians were like, no, we're going to piss and moan about all this stuff. We're going to divide. And Paul's like, dude, you're driving me absolutely insane. That was most of his letters. The core of it was like, please stop dividing the church. That was Paul's mission. Stop doing that. My last comment is, now on my late 40s, I'm 100% sure that the Bible doesn't have contradictions. It's a bold statement, Miguel, but I respect the bold statement.
As long as you stick with what you believe in, that's fine.
Yeah, and still,
as long as you have the basics, Miguel.
Yeah, exactly,
Miguel,
exactly.
Good.
Non-essentials, non-essentials. So even if there are, I mean, man, you're putting a lot of text together. Like the Bible's not a clean book. It's a very complicated mix match of time periods and different authors and transcribing and scribe to scribe. Like that's a crazy thing. If you really look into how the Bible was produced back then, that's wild.
Yeah, to write
That's wild. Handwritten. So if a scribe decides to leave something out, all of his scribes don't have that.
Yeah, well, that's
that
why
one dude.
My friend had a big problem with that. I told you that a long time ago. My friend had a big problem with, the Roman Church had so much power back in the day that, they could have taken out and left whatever. But when you have other countries, other languages, that you can compare it to. So like nowadays, especially, I mean, it'd be like, well, this language Bible has this in it and this one doesn't. I mean, you can kind of verify each one by looking at the different languages and the different stuff like that. So I mean, I get where he's coming from. They did have a lot of power, but they didn't have power over all the other countries and stuff.
No, yeah, but their power was a big deal. That was my girl and I are putting something together on that actually right now, like an extremely thorough deep dive into the Catholic Church, the history of the Catholic Church, the Protestant Reformation, what was actually going on. Because I find all that really interesting. I grew up Catholic, so I was stuck in those churches. I was an altar boy for a hot minute. I did the whole 9, man. That's precisely why it is for you.
For the 4 people watching it, that's why I call him Father Joe.
Oh, God. I got to make a t-shirt that says Father Joe.
Father Joe. Yeah,
my mom get a costume.
My mom grew up Catholic, and she escaped, she said.
Oh, good for her.
Her parents still are like huge.
Yeah. My mom was. To the day of her death, my mom was. We would argue. Lovingly, but argue. It's tough, man.
It's hard. They're the hardest ones to argue with, I feel like.
They're the hardest. They're very staunch in their beliefs. I think, man, still, when on YouTube, that one with Father Schmidt that I did, the response video to the Catholic priest, that's still, now a month after doing this again, is my most watched video. Like, of the month. So 5 years later, people are still watching that at, like, high levels. It's wild. It's wild. And I'm getting comments all day, every day, just talking absolute trash to me for not knowing what I'm talking about. But I'll be honest, I watched that video and I need to redo it. Because I have some different thoughts. And I love that I keep myself open enough to I'm not going to be embarrassed at all when I do that. Because I say all the time, man, I don't know. My opinion changes constantly. So now I'm going to do a response video to myself. Doing it to Schmidt.
Like Ben Shapiro, he keeps a list on his website of things that he said that were stupid or that he was wrong about.
That's a great idea.
He constantly changes.
That's a great idea.
Like stupid things I've said.
That's an awesome idea. I love that. I didn't know he did that. That's lovely.
I've never looked at it, but yeah, he's got or he says he does. I haven't looked at it.
I'm sure if he says it, I'm sure he does. Because people are going to scrutinize the hell out of Ben Shapiro. People hate him.
there's some people bring up stuff he said when he was like 17 and stuff. And he's like, go to my website. I have a list of stupid things I've said.
I guarantee he does that. I'm definitely going to look it up later. I think that's a great idea. I think that's an awesome idea. That's precisely why
I do church online. It's easier to church up.
Yeah.
Attend 10 different churches in a day.
That's true. It had to do with the last conversation about church levels and how church drive. Yeah, church hopping's tough though, man. Then like, what's the point? For me, like, what's the point? The only reason I go to a physical church is because of my kid. I want her to have that experience. I want her to have the community. I don't agree with the church that I go to, but they're lovely people. They're good people trying to do good things. I believe they have good intentions. The pastor is a totally good guy. I don't agree with them theologically, and I'm okay with that. But I want her to experience that. But if it wasn't for that, there's no way I would do church online. I'd probably just like study theology and do my own thing. I don't think I'd like watch sermons of random churches or anything. I just don't think it would interest me. Kind of cut to the chase. Because if you're not getting the physical community aspect of it and you're going to be all tele, like I would go straight to the source then. I would just listen to scholars. I would just kind of do research. Personally. Plus, I find it kind of hard to listen to a lot of church stuff online, in all honesty. My kid was sick last week, so we did like celebration churches online because that was where I came up, was in celebration church. So it's kind of nostalgic for me. And they have a new pastor who's actually really great. So he was really, really good. But it's hard, man, like looking at a screen. The worship is totally bizarre. Because I like worship a lot, and my kid does too. Like we dance a lot. And so doing that at home is just like, you don't feel it, It's just it's not the same. It's not the same. No. But whatever floats your boat, Nicole.
That's like, I listen to, most of the music I listen to is Christian music, but I listen to heavy music.
Like metal?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How much Christian metal is there? I know it exists, and although I'm not ignorant
a lot.
To that.
There's it's not like there's Christian death metal. There's all kind of it's good stuff.
Interesting. I've heard a little bit, but like a very, very small amount.
Oh man, there's a lot of good stuff out there.
So the hardcore Christians definitely call that Satanist stuff, right?
I don't know. It's like whenever I would you meet new people at work or something. One of the most basic questions is, what kind of music do you listen to? I'm like, I don't want to have this conversation. Because if you listen to it, you're gonna be like devil worshiper. No.
Oh my God.
Just like the type of music. It's technical. I used to play the guitar and stuff on the radio, and you can learn it in like 5 minutes. I'm like, this takes no talent. So I started listening to other stuff and the more complex and all that. And like you said, you feel it. I don't know. I like music that's loud.
I mean, I get it. I grew up on screamo music, but it wasn't Christian. It was god awful, and probably was Satanistic for sure. I grew up in that whole scene of the emo, metal, all that, skinny jeans, hair on your face. That was my time, man. Embarrassingly so.
How old are you?
I'm almost 30.
Oh wow, so I'm older than you, huh?
Yeah, man. I just look old as hell. I know. I play a game with people. I think it's just because my history, right? The bad parts.
Well, yeah.
So I think that just aged the hell out of me. Between the drug use and then what came after that, I think I was just radically aged. So I play a game with people when I meet them, and they ask how old I am. I tell them, yeah, exactly. How old do you think I am? Guess. And it's always mid to late 30s. I'm like, damn. Dang. I'm 28. 28.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I'll be 29 in June. It's
wild. I'll be 33 next month.
Really? You look younger than that. You've aged much better than me. So just take solace in that. 33. That's not how close are you? You don't have to tell me your age, but how close are you and your wife age-wise?
She's 2 years younger.
Okay.
So she's currently 32. She's 30.
Yeah. Jersey Customs Adventure.
Don't know them, but they know
Is that
you.
A car shop?
I don't know.
Jersey, do you have a real name that you want to give me? Because this isn't ringing a bell.
Jersey look it up, but I'm
Customs
not all
Adventures.
official. Like you have to like hold my phone so that I look semi-professional.
I'm 52, 1970, man. Yeah.
Oh, so you were in your 20s when the good old Guns N' Roses and everything was going on.
Oh yeah. Man, I swear I was born in the wrong generation. Same with my girl. She's an old classic car mechanic. So we go to these old car shows and stuff, and she's younger than me, and she's very tiny. So she'll like walk up to these cars, and the dudes will look at me, and I'm not a car guy. I'm not a car
They're
guy.
like, he's the mechanic.
At all. Yeah, they'll talk to me, like show me what their car is. And shit, I'll be like, oh, cool, dude. And, you know, whatever. Like, very pretty. Your car's super pretty. It looks cool. And my girl will start going off about the motor and everything, just belts and crazy shit. And they're like, what the hell? I'm like, yeah, dude, it ain't me. It's not me. Talk to her. CB Radio Repair Shop. That sounds formal. Ah, there you go, Tommy. I remember you.
Tommy G.
Tommy G. Dude, yeah, it's been a long time. That's so wild. It's wild. I gotta ask you this. I asked David last week. Not why. Have you noticed how many people on your social media who have not updated their profile picture in the last 5 years? Is this something you're aware of? You, yeah, see, you were one of them. You're one of them. You were one of them that I pointed out. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of people that like I talk to personally on Instagram and Facebook and stuff. And I pointed that out to my girl. They haven't changed it, or that have not. That when
probably they have bigger things to care about.
Exactly. You know, so I brought it up. I'm like, baby, this is crazy. But the only reason I recognize half these people is because their picture is exactly what it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago. And she's like, you know what that means? And I'm like, what? She's like, it means they're good people. Because they're not self-absorbed and changing their profile picture every 5 minutes. I'm like, baby, that's a really good point. You're absolutely right.
If I don't remember your profile picture, you're out.
Yeah. And that's like me. My picture is definitely from 3.5 years ago. The picture of me in a tux. That's from when I moved to Chicago and was first applying to jobs here. It's very old. I'm like, I just have no other pictures of myself that are even halfway presentable.
Yeah. Well, all of ours now are on Discord.
What Discord? I'm Discord illiterate. The only Discord I've done is
I play video games, but it's mainly video games.
Then you should be in it, dude. It's all video games. I thought, and then I do a lot of stock and crypto trading and stuff. So I found out there's a world of them in there too. So then I got on Discord for that. But I guess Discord is for everything. I thought it was just gamers for the longest time. Yeah, I don't play video games.
I used to, God, hardcore. But yeah, once I had our first son, like I haven't touched the old crappy PlayStations, like still sitting over there. Like I don't even have the new one.
Which one is it? A 4 or a 3?
4.
Okay. Yeah, we were doing Call of Duty for a while during like COVID. During COVID, we were doing a lot of Modern Warfare and stuff. But now it's like it's just not so much. We tried again like a month back, and then we were playing zombies on the old
ones are
Infinite Warfare with the zombie like circus stuff. It was an old one. It's an old one, but it was really good. It was really good. That's interesting though. I don't know about like Christian Discord. I bet that's actually probably pretty good. That would be the way to go. See, like I support that. That's probably just a bunch of people talking like real about a bunch of different stuff. I think that's a great idea. I would definitely be about that if I could learn how to use Discord.
So you still need to check out Michael Pearl. I feel like y'all would disagree on some things, but you gotta just Michael Pearl Bible questions. Just like YouTube that, and he's got like a million of them. But like he doesn't say anything without backing it up and looking at it, and he's really cool.
NoGreaterJoy.com. Really cool.
Yeah, he's got No Greater Joy Ministries. I think he preaches at like The Door somewhere in Tennessee.
Oh yeah, he's an old Tennessee man with a good old beard there. Yeah, I like that. What do you think I'm going to disagree with him on? Any specific?
Maybe he's big on which is one of the things I'd like to maybe have a conversation on one day. But he's big on, he only uses the King James Bible because of like the end of Revelation, no man shall change, and he's got a thing on numbers.
What does that mean?
Like the number 1
numerology,
meaning 2, 3, yeah.
Yeah,
and
no,
like,
I'm big in numerology.
There's 12,000 words in Revelation or some book, I forgot. But if you translate it out of King James, there's like a few less words and there's a few more words. I don't know. He's got a thing on it. You could watch it.
I'll watch that for sure because I'm into numerology. My girl is too. Yeah, like big time.
Crazy stuff. Like what he does is before he puts out a video, he looks up every time like the number is used in the entire Bible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like he's
luckily there's a lot of tools you can use now that will do it for you. So they'll pull it out of different translations and they'll give you charts of numbers. Yeah. So then you can like do your research really easily. My problem with the King James is King James was a POS. He was a trash person and he was extremely controlling, and the Bible was put together to his pleasing, the way that he wanted things to be translated. That's the problem, is like when you put them next to the original languages, they don't match. And it's like, it's not even like, oh, you can tell he really tried. This was just like you have the ESV and the NIV and the New Living Translation, whatever. Put all three of those next to the original Greek and Hebrew, and like you can tell they really tried. They're doing the best they can. There's no direct translation, but you can tell they're making an attempt. The King James is just not like that, man. So that's my struggle with it. Yeah, and I was King James for a long time. My Bible out of special elite college, which I'm sure you know what I'm referring to, was King James. Red letter, King James, straight. And I loved it. I was a big King James guy. And the more I learned about that whole historical period and how he compiled the Bible and everything, it ruined it for me, man. Well, I still have the Bible, but it ruined it for me. So yeah, I got to listen to this guy. I'd be really interested. But the numerology stuff, I'm all about.
Yeah, I haven't watched it. Yeah, he's got a lot of, some of his are short, some of his are long, but I love just going to the Door or No Greater Joys, but he's got a lot of cool stuff.
What is the other one? The Door?
Gotta quit doing that.
The Door.org? Like the Door?
It might be.
Is it door.org? Empowering young people to reach their potential? Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. I know No Greater Joys is in, but
I've got that one, yeah.
Michael Pearl Bible questions and bounce around from there.
Okay, yeah, I'll find it. But I got No Greater Joy Ministries. I'll go through them. I think that's great. He's got parenting, marriage, Bible teaching.
See, that's the big... he made that like parenting book a long time ago and got like attacked for it. I haven't read it, but like he was apparently very strict in it or something. I don't know. Really? I haven't looked on much of that, but like a lot of his like the Bible questions where he like talks about things and like, from like 10 to like 30, 45 minutes. A lot of his stuff's good.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely going to start watching some of them. Especially the numerology, man. It's super interesting. You can get lost in all that number stuff though. You start connecting a lot of dots. Really cool. Like, yeah, it's extremely cool. The first guy to show me that was in Jacksonville before I left. He was my roommate for a while, and he was super into it. And at first, I thought he was absolutely crazy, and he kept bugging me with it. And eventually, I was like, "Dang, you gotta check it out. That's hard to talk away. It's hard to talk out of that one." Jersey guy, did you guys ever see the 2028 guy? I have no idea what that is. He says the coming of Christ is during the year 2028. He shows how God spoke through a couple NFL football games to show it. I have never heard of that. Is he like called the 2028 guy? So if I Google that, am I going to find it?
I was about to say, I'm about to YouTube that once we're done. What's going on there? Oh man, did you ever see when was it? I forgot what year it was, but man, there were trucks and vans from like California driving around, thing like the end is near. Did you remember? Did you ever see those?
Oh yeah. In the 80s, in the 90s, they're still around. I bet, man.
Week after that.
Is this Kenny Williams? It's amazing. Nicole, are you talking about the 2028 guy? I found Kenny Williams apparently put a book out on Amazon, 2028, the year of his return, question mark. That's Kenny Williams. I'll look into it. I just, man, like, I put absolute zero weight in any of that stuff. It's been every 5 years for
I know, and
a century.
It clearly says no one knows. So
exactly.
I'm guessing that day, even if that's the day he had picked,
he's like, gonna reschedule.
He's gonna reschedule.
He's gonna reschedule for sure. He's like, there's no way I'm letting these dudes guess this.
No, that dude's not gonna be right. Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Not a chance. I gotta look, man. That's interesting. Is it like a new Y2K? Is he saying it's gonna be technology? That's what I hear a lot nowadays. Is like AI taking over, is Satan fueled.
I just saw this the other day on the Daily Wire, actually the app. But China has a robot that like it can break out of any like jail because it can get into a liquid and then move and then come back into a robot again.
What? No.
I know.
That's awful. I thought I was up to speed on the robot thing. Have you seen the dog with the machine gun?
Yeah. Running around China.
That's horrifically. That's just that's horrible.
I know. My wife's a nurse, and it's like we can move wherever you want, but it just has to be legal to own a gun. I'm not living anywhere I can't legally own a gun.
You gotta move to the middle of nowhere, man. That's our goal. That's our plan. That's our 10-year plan. Is going to be to own a big plot of land in the middle of nowhere. I want chickens. I want goats. I want some cows. Is it? Yeah, it sounds like I'm going to be right there with him.
He built his house.
Yeah.
He has all his food. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to start canning. We're going to be crazy people. I want as far away from society as humanly possible. I take it all with a grain, man, but it's really interesting. Yeah, I like that stuff. I always I'll get into it for sure. I just never, it's like Y2K, 2012. It's every handful of years that people think is going to be the end.
As soon as they say it, I just know it's not going to be that. We're safe that day.
Yeah, exactly. That's guaranteed safe day.
I know I'll wake up tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, God. All right, we're going to get booted again.
Oh, jeez, again.
We probably got good for the night.
Yeah.
This was interesting. It was way off from what I thought, and way better than probably what we were doing.
I'll be more prepared next time if there's a next time for whatever.
No, dude, this was good. This is what I don't ever want this to be strict, man. Like that's why I tell David, like, dude, you don't need to prepare, and it needs to be open. This is what people need. It's like honest conversation about stuff. If it's specific, I'll shoot you something ahead of time so you can look. Like if I want you to have an opinion ready, I'll tell you can have an opinion ready.
All right, good.
Otherwise, no, it's just conversation, man. That was always the best part about any of this stuff. It's just honest talk. That's what people are missing. All right, man. Well, let's jump off then. Go and get some rest.
All right.
Yeah. All right, dude. It was good to talk to you. I'll message you. We'll chat.
All right. Yeah, I know you live in Chicago and I live in Memphis. It just happened there. So
yeah. Good God. I wish I was where you are. I'll tell you that. I moved to Memphis in a heartbeat. Other than Chicago? Over Chicago?
Yeah, I guess
over Chicago. Yeah. Big time. You don't like Memphis?
Yeah.
Why?
There's nothing to do here.
What do you need to do?
Anything.
People love Tennessee.
Bill Street and Elvis.
Tennessee's, bro, it's like the new California. Everybody's moving to Tennessee and Texas. They're the new California and New York because now nobody can live there. I
technically live in Mississippi, but I could throw a rock at Memphis. So
really? Okay.
Because nobody knows where South Haven is.
South Haven, Mississippi?
Yeah.
Are you in a rural area?
No.
No, like suburb?
Yeah.
Ish, yeah.
I guess I'd call it a suburb. Yeah. It's not the city, but it's, I guess, suburb, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, that's where
I got a little bit of land. A little bit. Enough to see the government coming.
Good for you, man.
I live in a neighborhood, but
you have half an acre or less?
More, like one.
Dang. Nice. Do you have chickens yet?
It's big for Chicago. No,
it's huge for Chicago.
Annoying dogs. But
how many dogs do you have?
3. Oh yeah, y'all got a lot. Y'all got a bunch of dogs.
It's a zoo, bro. We got 4 cats. But right now we have 4 dogs. 2 are fosters though. And
So at
then
least the cats take care of
snakes.
themselves.
Yeah, the cats take care of themselves. But we keep picking up more. My girl's an animal first. She talks to animals more than people.
I say that all the time. You could ask. I say I like dogs more than I like people.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's Joe's Ark up in my house 100% of the time. It's just going to keep getting bigger. Freaking wild, man. Freaking wild. All right. I'll message you, man. Thanks for coming and talking, though.
Yeah.
It's good.
Anytime.
All right, bro. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
Later. Miguel, man, that thing stuck in my mind. I'll tell you that before I get off. The once you're healed, you need to leave the hospital thing. I don't know why I've never thought of it like that. I really do find that wildly profound. I think that's a great concept, honestly. And I think the people who are really awake grow out of that and move on past the church. And I think a lot of people never do. Whether they're intellectually capped and they can't process, expanding information or ideas or theologies, or whether they just don't care. Because I feel like I have met both of those kinds of people. No more cats, man. Been scooping a litter box for 20 years. Luckily, I don't have to. My girl does all the litter boxes. So I'm lucky in that regard. When she's not around, I'll have to. I like the cats though, man. I hated cats. When she moved in with me, I said, no cats. I don't like cats. I don't do cats. We can do dogs all day long. But then we got cats because that's how marriage works. And I really like the cats. I think they're great. They're awesome. So our last cat is actually a cat that I found I run a construction company, and by our warehouse, there's a stray cat. And on the day we moved to a different warehouse, this cat came to me and would not leave. So I took her home because she was just a warehouse cat. Not for our company, but for a different one. And she's lovely. She's absolutely lovely. And now she's got a better life. She's not outside. Because if she was still outside right now, she'd be dead because we got a bunch of snow this weekend. Unless the two of you have something else you want to talk about real quick, I'm going to hop off too. But Miguel, seriously, that was profound, man. It's causing me to rethink that whole concept of systematic church beyond the way I already overanalyzed the hell out of it. But I find that this wildly profound because it's 100% true. All right, you guys have a good night then. Thanks for being here. You definitely added value.